If you know me, you'll know that this reusable straw is always with me everywhere I go. Like many of you, I am deeply concerned about single-use plastic. But let's be real, does one person using one less straw actually make a difference when we're facing such massive systemic challenges like climate change and plastic pollution? It's a question I get a lot, and my answer is a resounding yes. Our individual actions matter, and I'm here to tell you why. Hi, I'm Sarah Paiji Yoo, co-founder and CEO of Blueland, a company on a mission to eliminate single-use plastic packaging, starting with cleaning products. And today, I invite you to join me on a journey to understanding the true power of individual action in driving the cultural, business, and legislative changes that we need to secure a sustainable future for us all. Now, I'll be the first to admit that my individual impact on global emissions is essentially zero. It's 0.000000001%. That's 8 zeros. All the while, corporations and governments have a firm grip on the much larger levers for change. For example, just 100 companies make up about 71% of all global emissions. And just 5 companies make up a quarter of all plastic pollution. So shouldn't it be these companies that need to change and not tiny old me? And our governments hold by far the largest, most powerful lever. Just a quick example. Instead of me refusing a plastic straw, just our government banning all plastic straws, or better yet, a broad range of single-use plastic, would be significantly wider reaching and more impactful. That's why we often hear that we need to focus on big systemic change, that these small things are just a distraction. Or worse, that it's a strategic decision by big businesses and big oil to shift our focus to these small things, to make their impact our responsibility. In the 70s, for example, big oil popularized the term personal carbon footprint, placing the responsibility of emissions on consumers instead of the oil and gas industry. And in the 80s, the beverage bottle industry poured millions of dollars into the marketing of recycling, creating these big budget TV commercials, encouraging consumers to recycle, and by doing that, firmly planting the responsibility of cleaning up plastic pollution on consumers instead of major corporations that are packaging billions of products a year in single-use plastic. This is a strategy that we see over and over again. And yet the current state of the planet is most not our fault as individuals. Businesses must be part of the solution, and governments must change laws and enact policies to ensure that that happens. But the story doesn't end there. While corporations and governments are the main characters in this drama that is global emissions, it's our individual actions that are directing the play. My own journey to personal action started 7 years ago when I became a new mom. I was doing research into the quality of the drinking water that I was using to mix with my infant son's baby formula. And I was horrified to learn that there's hundreds of pieces of microplastics in our drinking water, regardless if you're drinking tap or bottled. That all the single-use plastic that we're using as a society is ending up in our oceans and our waterways and breaking down to these tiny pieces of plastic that are too small to be filtered out and now showing back up in the water we drink, the food we eat, and it's even in our blood. At that point, I made a decision to really cut out all single-use plastic out of our family's home life, and we actually went zero waste, completely zero waste for 2 years. And it was a really eye-opening experience because I realized, as well-intentioned as I was, that I just had no choice as a consumer. Everything seemed to come packaged in single-use plastic, from medication and vitamins to ketchup to strawberries and pretzels. And that's when I realized that I could have much greater impact beyond my family's tiny personal consumption if I could find a way to give others more and better choices, but without the single-use plastic packaging. And that's how the idea for Blueland was born. And it turns out that it was an impactful area to start. Single-use packaging actually makes up the largest category of both new plastic production and plastic waste. It makes up about 40% of new plastic production, and packaging makes up about 40% of all plastic waste. And so I and my incredible co-founder, John, explored a wide range of ideas and categories. Many of the ideas were crazy, some were just bad, but all with the end goal of eliminating single-use plastic packaging. Ultimately, where we landed was to reimagine cleaning products to start. A category where many of our everyday cleaning products are up to 90% water and come in a new plastic bottle every time. And so our plan was to remove the water and to create these dry refill tablets that we would then package in paper instead of plastic. It ended up being a really long and difficult journey. We heard so many no's along the way, from investors to industry veterans to cleaning products manufacturers and marketers saying, no, it was going to be impossible. It's going to be impossible for you to do this, given it's never been done before, and also given that you are not a chemist, there's no way you're going to be able to crack this formula. Or, no, it's going to be incredibly difficult and expensive to change consumer behavior. Over 40 patents granted later, we launched with our first set of products, a set of cleaning sprays and hand soap. To use, you simply fill one of our forever bottles, up with water. You drop in a tablet packaged in compostable paper. Drop it in like that. And then that's it. You can see that it's starting to effervesce. There's no shaking or stirring required. And at the end of a few minutes, you have a full bottle of hand soap or cleaning solution. Now, Blueland is proud to be the first and only brand that can truly promise no single-use plastic across a range of products, from hand soap to cleaning sprays to laundry and dishwasher detergent to toilet bowl cleaner to body wash and face wash. What began as a tiny speck of an improbable idea not only survived, but became the fastest growing brand in the history of the cleaning industry. Every 60 seconds, we convert a new household to Blueland. So those are individuals making the conscious decision to make the switch to a plastic-free cleaning routine, joining millions of other customers who have already made the switch to Blueland. That has not only impacted the trajectory of Blueland, but one of the most polluting industries on this planet, the $100 billion cleaning products industry. Since we launched, every major CPG company in cleaning has launched their version or answer to Blueland. Just add water refills and products that encourage consumers to reuse the same cleaning bottle. Windex, Lysol, Scrubbing Bubbles, Mr. Clean, Dial soft soap, just to name a few, they all have refill concentrate products now on the market, available on retail shelves across the country. With Blueland, we set out to use business as a force for good and to set a higher bar for our industry and businesses in general. So all of that is really exciting. Some of these companies have been around for over 100 years and do upwards of $80 billion in annual revenue. So we are impacting companies that are nearly 1,000 times our size. People ask me if it bothers me when I see other businesses copy what we're doing. And I say, no, I'm proud. It's absolutely thrilling to be having an impact at such a large scale, far beyond the products that Blueland directly makes and sells. But Blueland can't take full credit here. These massive businesses only changed because they saw that consumer preferences and behaviors were changing, and it was good for them to change. Blueland could have launched and made lots of noise, but if people didn't actually care about the environment and care to use less single-use plastic, I promise you, these large legacy businesses would not have cared to follow in our footsteps. When people care, businesses care. When people change their behaviors and vote with their dollars, businesses follow suit. Our individual actions matter. The same power of individual actions goes for shaping legislation. When people care, our elected officials care, and that makes changing laws and policies so much more likely. I've seen this firsthand with the work that we've done with the Blueland community to advocate for legislation at the New York State and city level. At the New York State level, we've rallied people to advocate for the plastic reduction bill, which would require businesses to cut plastic packaging by 50% over the next 12 years. This bill adopts a polluters pay model, which would essentially put the financial burden of packaging waste on the companies that generate it, instead of cities and taxpayers. In the pursuit of profit, businesses often make the choice to use cheap, single-use plastic. And so why is it on taxpayers to pay for the landfilling and recycling of their waste? Regulations like these that enforce a tax on businesses that choose to use single-use plastic is far more effective than just hoping that these businesses will make that change on their own. After years of pushing for support for this legislation, we've reached an exciting milestone 2 months ago, and now we have majority support in both New York Senate and the Assembly. This was achieved by collecting support one lawmaker at a time, with individuals making calls, sending emails, showing up to rallies, until we had enough votes to be able to pass this bill. At the New York City level, we've been strong advocates of the Pods Are Plastic bill, which was just introduced earlier this year, which would ban the sale of laundry and dishwasher detergent pods. Many consumers don't realize that this thin film that individually wraps each pod, it's actually plastic. It's a plastic called polyvinyl alcohol, also known as PVA, and it doesn't readily biodegrade. So when this goes down our drains, the microplastics and nanoplastics persist and are ultimately released into our water systems. Raising awareness on PVA has been a passion project of Blueland for the past 4 years. Born of our own shop when we discovered that pods in a newer format, detergent sheets, are all made of plastic. We developed alternatives, a first of its kind, naked, plastic-free laundry tablets and dishwasher tablets, but we didn't stop there. Blueland also commissioned research on this topic because none had previously existed on what exactly happens to these plastic pods when they go down our drains. The research revealed that about 75% of intact plastic particles from pods are ultimately released into oceans, rivers, and soil. And recently, PVA has been found in drinking water and human breast milk. Knowing all of this, we couldn't stop there. And so Blueland launched a petition to the EPA 2 years ago, and we garnered over 50,000 signatures, which helped it land on the radar of New York City Council. And that's how ultimately the Pods Are Plastic bill ended up being introduced in the City Council earlier this year. I cannot overstate the significance of this bill. New York City is larger than 39 states, and this bill sends a clear signal that plastic should never be designed in products to go down our drains into the environment. Our individual actions matter, and they counteract the strong business interests and lobbying efforts by big business. Organized money can only be fought with organized people, and that's why individual action is crucial. Social change has also always been driven by individuals. When consumer preferences and behaviors change, culture and norms change, and that all makes drastic business and government change so much more likely. And the research shows that we're highly swayed by what other people think and are doing, and we behave accordingly. And it goes for everything, from how many children we decide to have, to what celebrities are considered attractive, to even whether or not we put solar panels up on our rooftops or put out our recycling bins, which, by the way, the last two have been shown to actually be infectious in neighborhoods. What starts as niche can transform into widespread cultural norms. Every time you make a sustainable choice, you contribute to making that vision for the future a reality. You influence people around you to do the same, and suddenly these small ripples become big waves. And while we can't vote every day, we can be conscious in the decisions that we make. I drink iced coffee every day. I eat meals, I commute to work, I make purchases, and keeping me focused often on the world I want to create is nothing but a good thing. These moments allow me to reflect on my values and align my actions to my values. And living my values day to day will ensure that when I show up at work as a CEO of Blueland, I will make decisions that will truly prioritize the planet. We operate a zero-waste warehouse and fulfillment operations. We have solar panels on the roofs of our manufacturing plants. We truly promise zero single-use plastic across all of our products. Can you really expect someone that leads a daily disposable home life filled with single-use plastic and disregard for the planet to then show up at work or at school or in government and really push the boundaries for the best decisions to be made on behalf of the planet? To push the company that they work at to switch to earth-friendly materials or to go carbon neutral, or advocate for their school to adopt campus-wide composting? What powers the much-needed, important change in organizations of all kinds is people like us. Our personal actions matter and they hold power. They increase the chances that we will show up and advocate for the environment in each of our own spheres of influence, and they remind us of our values and our vision for the future. So here's my challenge to you. Embrace your power. Commit to just one sustainable action that you can take today. Maybe it's finally getting that reusable coffee mug or straw, or calling your city council member, or talking to a friend about that article you read recently on climate change. And then wake up tomorrow and do it again. Let these small actions remind you of the future that we're fighting for. Remember, mighty oceans are made up of single drops. You are one of those drops, and together we will turn the tide.